Hello, everyone. I'm Michiko Hayashi from the Emoto Peace Project in Tokyo, Japan. It's been a long time since I did this program and uploaded interview videos. And today, I am so happy and so grateful that I can interview my dear friend Russell Anderson. Hi, Russell. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you, Michiko. I'm always happy to see you. It's just amazing, you
It's
know.
yeah, we met each other. I think it was at 2020, 21 or 22,
Y-
early 22, I think, on the internet.
Yes, but you've been working with Dr. Emoto for 14 years or somewhere in there, right?
Well, I started working for Dr. Emoto into March of 2004.
Oh, okay.
So so it's
That's
been
20.
this is 21 year. It's been 21 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, of course, as you know, Dr. Emoto passed away in October 2014. So that's when I succeeded his legacy as
yeah.
Emoto Peace Project. Today, I am interviewing you. So not really talking about myself, but I would like to talk about you and why I would like to interview you today.
Oh, good.
You have your book?
I do. It's right here. It's Mount Konocti. We call it Mount Konocti, and it shows a romance between male and female here. And
Mhm.
we've been through this for many years in studying this idea, this understanding that the earth is feminine and the sky is masculine. And so the electricity that comes from that we don't really see, that is not seeable, or we think is seeable with the flashing lights, is united directly into volcanoes. So most of that was given to us in information by a Dr. Hugh Brown. And of course, when I met Dr. Emoto in San Francisco, uh, he came to San Francisco to speak to the people there, and
Mhm.
because I knew something about water, the monitor there, he asked me if I could just pick him up at the airport. And so I says, "You want me to pick him up at the airport?" I said, "Well, I guess if you think so, I will do that." So we picked him up at the airport, and
Mhm.
I got to meet Hero and all of that. And we actually laughed and joked together for a long time.
It's really interesting. I mean, the- when I didn't really know that you had met Dr. Emoto in 2005.
Right.
And when I found you because in 2022, we started, Hiro Emoto, Dr. Emoto's son, Hiro, and he's the now president of this company.
Yes.
And I've been working with him ever since I started working for Dr. Emoto as well. And at that time in 2005, I don't know exactly until what year, but Hiro was still in the United States, living in California and doing the business in the United States as
Mhm.
part of this Dr. Emoto's company. So I really, so he started doing this world event called World Water Festival in 2022. Actually, they started having this idea of doing this World Water Festival in 2021 when everybody, no one really knew what was happening around the world because of the COVID-19 and because of the pandemic and all that. So we said, this is not good. We have to do something. Otherwise, the water will be still stagnated. We need to do the festival and send love and gratitude to all waters around the world. And the reason why I found you was because I asked Dr. Emoto, who was all already made transition to the next dimension that I asked him, please connect me with someone who really knows about water and who has pure heart.
Hmm.
And I was looking for someone who I can interview someone as part of not Emoto Peace Project, but the World Water Festival. Then I came up with primary water. And then I was curious what it was. I didn't know at that time what it was. Then I sent an email to the person called Russell Anderson. And then you replied through someone else. I can't remember who it was. And in that letter, you said that you had met Dr. Emoto in person. So I was really surprised. And now here we are. We've been getting together with all these friends, very important friends, uh, to clear water of Clear Lake and also around the world, the whole world. So this is how I found you, and we've been talking ever since. So
Yeah, well, it was Dr. Emoto that came to me and he asked me. I mean, I was just negotiating him around the building and everything else where the people would gather around him and I would have to stand back and we'd sit joke. You don't have to, he'd say you don't have to do that, you know. But it was more than that. It was this relationship that we had because he asked me a question. And in that question,
just a minute. Um, okay, so
so I was telling you more about what was going on with this relationship that I had, and I was really kind of thinking, well, I'm with this person who basically I truly has studied, for a long, long time, but mostly because of other connections that I had to the earth and so on. So he asked me the question, he said, why do you know all this stuff? And I said, well, because I knew of another person. His name was Dr. Hugh Brown, and he was really amazed that I said that. And I said, you knew him? You actually knew him? As if I'm looking at him because Hugh Brown passed away in 1997. Okay,
mhm,
so I'm meeting him in 2010, Dr. Emoto, and he said, I'm studying that. And I know
mm,
that there's different grades of Brown's gas and so
mhm,
on. I realized that it was important for me to tell the story about Dr. Hugh Brown. And I was asked, and in order to say that, I had to go back to a mentor of mine who really I've known since 1993,
mhm,
90. And so I'm looking at this last year was the 30th year since I started this way of thinking, in a sense, this way where Clearwater Vision really started. And
okay.
and so that was really important that I continued because he told me you must continue what I'm doing. And I
Mm,
said to him, I said, I didn't know what I was doing. And he said, yes, you do. And he never told me anything after that. But I didn't know who Dr. Hill Brown was, and he knew that I would eventually meet up with Dr. Hill Brown. So
wow.
that came to be because I went on tour around the country
Mhm,
using his machine called the Brown's gas machine. And of course, I would I would do a 36 city tour, and in that tour, we brought together a stadium in Philadelphia that year, that same year.
Mhm.
So 36 city tour, running a machine where you throw water in the machine and it comes out as hot as the sun. You
Wow.
know, at the and something that other people I can't really talk about unless they've experienced it.
Hmm.
And I was quite amazed at what Dr. Emoto was saying to me. He said, you knew him, you know, that kind of thing, and you'd light up because he would say something about a good friend of mine
Yeah.
who I would, in front of thousands of people, would show this Brown's gas machine, and we would take a substance, any kind of substance, and turn it into ether, or just
Mhm.
change it, going into the air or whatever. And that year, I got to learn more about what neutralization of
Mhm.
nuclear waste was, or any kind of particle that's dangerous to humanity.
Mhm.
I'm still, to this day, I'm still wondering why other people couldn't understand this. And there were other people that came to my life that knew that because of those experiences, I was able to create a company or a nonprofit organization that's
Mhm.
important to all people. And of course, it's taken a lot of years to do that.
I think there's something that is very important that he said, Dr. Emoto said about water. Um, Spirituality is essential to take energy from water. He At that time he was very into taking energy, making energy from water. He knew that uh, we are able to do that. And there is still, even now in Tokyo, a person who creates or takes energy from water. But the very important thing is spirituality of whoever uses that or does that. And he said, nowadays, hydrogen energy and other forms of energy are attracting attention. It is natural to take energy from water, H2O, hydrogen energy. However, I think it is dangerous to take energy from water unless it is accompanied by spirituality. So he was saying that spirituality is really, really important when we are dealing with water because it's God's substance, right? For example, he said, for example, as seen in the hydrogen bomb, there is a danger that large amounts of energy will have a negative effect. After all, love and gratitude is the answer. In H2O, O is love and H is gratitude. That is the essence of water. Um, that is the emergency meal that God left us all at the end of the day. That means when something happened, right? If we forgot, if we forget this and pursue only material or scientific matters, there is a danger that a huge explosion will occur and the earth itself will be annihilate, annihilate annihilated from the universe, is what he said. And I think this is very important.
Yes, and that's uh it's so well done in writing something like that, because intent is the word of which we use as faith or prayer, or something that we had to be in the right frequency or the right intent, in order for the water to respond. And
Mhm.
that's exactly what happened in the tour that I did around the country with Dr. Hill Brown. So when he spoke in terms of saying, okay, what is this you're saying? I was dedicated to actually say it in the right form, but I didn't know exactly what I meant by that. So I started to meet other people who knew more about what they're calling primary water. And primary water is in a sense it's more complex. And I haven't been able to really focus on the complexity of water, and that's what Dr. Emoto said when he came to Clear Lake. And because I was working on Clear Lake at the time, and that's what I did. I left the situation where I touring around the country, and I was asked to, in a sense, go to this shaman asked me to go to Clear Lake. I didn't know why or how, but it wasn't that far away from San Francisco area. So I said, fine, I'll just go there. And that's where I had a vision, and it was in front of this lake or this palace. I think we did uh we did I guess we call it a gig, I think last year
Last year,
at Clear
in September.
and we were just on the lake, but just outside of that one area, I was back in 1997. I had a vision and I opened the door to something that I didn't know anything about, and I'm sitting at the lake, and I heard a voice, and it's hard for me to interpret this to everybody, but help my people.
No.
It was something about the lake that told me this, and the shaman told me something about the lake, and he started telling me that it was the oldest lake in the country,
Uh-huh. Oh.
this country of America. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so and I didn't know anything about that, and I was surprised that other people there didn't know either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was something about a book called Rachel Carson's. The It was called the something Springs, and anyway, Rachel Carson's was a person who back in the 60s wrote a book
Mm-hmm.
that would help a lot of people understand the importance of not to pollute the earth, and did a lot of this her studies at this lake. And then I went to find out more about the lake. And as science would say, that it's the oldest lake in the northern hemisphere. So I looked into that. I couldn't believe that they would say such a thing, and most of the people on the public wouldn't understand.
So,
And
so tell me about the book, the Mount Konocti, or
we're
just
calling it,
show us the book once again, and you talk about that volcano and Clear Lake, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So here's the
Mm-hmm.
we called Clear Lake is right on the bottom here, and
Uh-huh.
of course, then I called it Once Upon a Time There Was a Volcano. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to be talking about myself here, but
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
I do want to talk about the love for this lake and the reason why this lake exists and what happened 3 million years ago.
Uh-huh.
What we're looking at, that this would be the last of the oldest seeable volcanoes before the Ring of Fire went into the ocean. So that means I had to find a way to study
Mm-hmm.
the movement of these volcanoes that move from south to north through
Mm-hmm.
many millions of years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, that would be from the south going north in this circumstance, because that's where the vortex went from north to south from Hawaii. Hawaii
Mm-hmm.
is the center of the Ring of Fire.
Uh-huh. And then
So,
goes to Japan and to Alaska and
right,
to the United States and to South America. And that was the Ring of Fire, right? Many
right. There was this
thousands.
the Ring of Fire, and we had to like find a way to study it, and
Mm-hmm.
we found that if the best way to study this is from going from north to south would be to study all the other volcanoes that came before this one volcano. So I put her into life, Konocati, and I had to see what the Native Americans were talking about. And back in 97, I was told by the shaman that I needed to see this person called Jim Brown, or Jim Brown Eagle, as we know as today. And so I go, fine, I'll go meet him. I went to his place, and I have all these diagrams and things about what nature was, what a vortex was, and all of these things. And he asked me if I knew how to play guitar. And so we became a little garage band, for every Wednesday night or something like that. And I'd look forward to meeting him. We became like best friends for
Mm-hmm.
for a long length of time, until I had to do other things in my life. I had to leave at that point. I mean, it's turns into a long story. 1997 is a long time, but I would be on his radio program every once in a while. I would adjust myself to find out what he was doing and why he was, in a sense, still alive, because most of his family died because of
Oh,
mercury poisoning.
I see. Oh.
So this had been a situation where I was asked to do something about it, like help my people. So I
Mm-hmm.
put all my energy in helping finding out the information that was needed to be able to understand how a family could live, him and his wife and his children could live.
So, so tell us, how do you think we can help those people?
Well, this is the information that comes into this book, which is really important, and
Mm-hmm.
Jim Brown didn't know, and he asked me to find all that information out.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to San Francisco, and then toured around certain places where these
Mm-hmm.
other volcanoes existed, and
Mm-hmm.
they weren't really, they were, once you get a certain point, for a volcano, you don't see the other ones. It becomes only a hill, or it becomes a lake or something like that, but it
Mm-hmm.
isn't great. So these ancestors of Jim Brown's, in a sense, for 14,000 years, had had basically had been part of these tribes that left from the other volcanoes from below that area. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
we found
From
that
South.
these volcanoes moved from south to north, and then they became just they became coastal mountains. And so those
Mm-hmm.
are the oldest mountains that we talked about, and that's what Yogananda spoke about. And of course, I'm with this guy who is a devotee of Yogananda since 1933. And so I wasn't around then. I didn't understand what he understood, but then he knew this, and he said, "You
Mm-hmm.
must continue what you're doing." And
Right, right.
that put me on tour, and then eventually made it back to Clear Lake, and I learned to study all of that stuff in this 30 years that I spent there.
So tell me what um you people can readers can discover from that book, the Mount Konocti.
Yeah, Mount Konocati was basically a mountain that it was, in a sense, all alone, because of the others went in the ocean. I know it brings out certain aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
What we also knew about Clear Lake is it's the home of blue-green algae.
Mm-hmm.
What blue-green algae is to a scientist is photosynthesis. And
Hmm.
photosynthesis is the beginning of water or
Hmm.
beginning of oxygen.
Right.
So this is what was told by many of the scientists, and I didn't quite understand it, especially at the times I didn't. But to learn more about what is going on in the ocean and to learn more about what was happening to the Ring of Fire and why it was oblong now and why you could see where it all fit together. The continents actually fit together in this one area. So you can see now that the Ring of Fire is the one place where 70% of all the volcanoes existed.
Mm.
And so this one would be the last of the oldest seeable volcano in America, you know.
Wow. Uh-huh.
So it became more than that, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
and as I, learn all this stuff from this thing called the Los Alamos studies, and that's what made me have compassion for what was going on in Japan, because we knew that the Ring of Fire was on the other side of the ocean as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So this whole thing is bringing this all together is America, is really important this side, and we're going through so much turmoil on this in this country. I learned more about the male and female aspect of life and how really the male is over dominant. And what, Dr. Emoto was saying in that thing, he said we have to find equality to between masculine and feminine.
Right. It's always balanced. Yeah. Yeah.
In order to do that, we can't have the masculine power, be so direct and overpower the feminine.
Hmm. Right.
We
Well,
knew,
now it's been changing. Now it's getting better balanced, I think. It's still yet to go, but still it's changing.
yeah,
It's a good sign.
yeah, and I think if we talk about our friend Adrian, who I met, I think three years ago in
Hmm.
just outside of a town of uh, um, another volcano along the Ring of Fire. It's down in Ojai, California.
Hmm.
That was another one of the volcanoes that existed, but you don't see the volcano, you don't see the lake, you don't see any of that, but you
Oh.
know that it's very spiritual. It
Hmm.
has a lot of spirituality, and people have learned more about what was primary water. They would go there and
Hmm.
find primary water in those areas.
Well, tell us about more about primary water because I'm sure that there are many people who don't really know, who have never heard of the word primary water.
Yeah, it's very mysterious in a sense that it's kind of like hidden from everybody because we've always thought that water only came from the atmosphere.
Hmm.
We always thought that, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden we're finding people all around the world are learning more about primary water.
Hmm.
Uh, there was a guy named Nordenskild, Eric, I think Nordenskild, that traveled around the world, and he had a lot of prestige and so on. But he was the first that we know about who discovered primary water. He was way in the 1800s, and he was a Nobel laureate, and of course
Hmm.
he went to the South Pole
Hmm.
and to find out more about primary water.
So,
And
what is the primary water? Is that the water deep underneath the earth?
yes, yeah, it's the water that exists within the earth and it comes out in certain places. And
Hmm.
of course, there's always a continental divide, and we're
Hmm.
looking at different places that have that continental divide and how it unites, with the Ring of Fire and
Hmm.
why we can study the greatest importance of finding that water exists where the pyramids were and why we are that's such a mystery And
Mm,
now we're learning the connection between the Ring of Fire and the Continental Divide, who went all the way down into South America, was that place where it was very united with spirituality and so on. And so I wanted to just say a short story about
mhm,
when I was with Dr. Emoto in San Francisco Expo.
mhm.
The Pachimamas came to me, you know,
Pachamama. Uh-huh.
Pachimamas, yeah,
Mhm,
from Peru, of course, and they came to our booth, and they were talking to me, and they said, "We need you to come over here." And I
mhm,
said, "What do you mean?" He says, "We need you to come because these are our elders are telling us to tell you,
mhm,
that we're waiting for America to wake up." So here we have a very industrialized country who does
mhm,
little or nothing about spirituality, and we're enveloped in all sorts of, anger and fear and everything else,
mhm, mhm,
all of these things. And they're telling me to we're waiting for you or America to wake up. And I've learned since then that Lake Titicaca was the other oldest lake in
mhm.
two hemispheres, so
Right.
on. It took me a while to figure all that out, but now we're seeing that this is what actually makes the earth go round.
Mhm, mhm,
We're connected to these waters, and we're also connected to the divide and how it is. If I had a map, I could show you it, but
mhm,
really, you can feel it in your bones that what Yogananda was saying about LA. He said that the best place to go in America is to LA because of the consciousness there. So I'm listening and I'm talking to all these people because of the consciousness that exists in LA, but
mhm,
that was also a volcano many millions of years ago, and this is what Yogananda had said. So
mhm,
here is my mentor back in 94 telling me to continue what I'm doing. And
mhm,
I said, I don't know what I'm doing. And yet it ends up me finding out that water is the sun. And that's what Emoto was telling us. He said the water is the sun. That's impossible for us to understand.
mhm,
Yet we did that anyway. I poured water in the machine and it come out, and people would say that's impossible. That's
mhm.
impossible. I said, of course it's impossible, but here, watch this. And so we would dissolve something, that,
Mhm,
you know, all different types of metals and so on, and the hardest metals you can think about,
mhm.
and it would be gone.
Yeah. Right.
But the main thing, that we wanted to know was it really possible that we could neutralize nuclear waste? And that's what we're doing and so on. And there's not too many people alive
Mhm,
left. Only a few of us. And one of my friends basically had, while I was touring around the country, he was working directly with Dr. Hugh Brown,
mhm,
and he would show this whole fact that we could neutralize nuclear waste, and we could. The fact is that the nuclear waste is much used to make bombs out of, you know.
Right.
So all of this stuff needs to be unveiled. It
Right.
needs to
Yeah.
be unveiled, and all of these alternative energies that we can unveil, it could have been unveiled if we
Mhm,
would have been able to understand the key
mhm.
between the sun and the water.
I think when more and more people are awakened and the energy of the whole world changes, the important things in really beneficial things will start to reveal and will be accepted and will be used. for
I,
the good purposes.
I think so. And, you
Hmm.
know, when Dr. Emoto said, he looked at the crystal and he said, this crystal is very complex, even though the lake was polluted with mercury, you
Hmm.
know, it was complex. And
Hmm.
so that was our goal, is to bring that back to, the highest level. But because if we're looking at water and we're looking at primary water of the inventors that basically, or the discoverers of primary water, basically they were saying that water is useful. It's
Hmm.
useful. In other words, it's more complex, it has more energy, it has more life, it is more
Oh,
capable of neutralizing the toxins that we
it's
exist
like,
with.
I think it's like a newborn baby. When babies are newborn, their vibration is so high. It's
Yes.
like God. When we're around the baby, it's just because I became a grandma. So I know by just seeing the newborn baby right in front of you, it's like you're seeing God. Because just by being around the baby, you feel such a high energy, you feel joy, happiness, and peace and everything. And the water, primary water, is like a newborn baby. It's got such high energy and pure energy. So I can understand what you mean by that. The
So
primary water is so important.
So I would ask a question to America and Japan and to all these higher consciousness people.
Mhm.
If that is true, then are we looking and praying for only water on the surface water, or are we also looking and praying for the water below the mantle? So
Both.
important to understand.
Every We are praying for all waters in the air, above the earth, within the earth, because where there's above and there's below
Yeah,
everything, like trees. All trees grow above the earth, but within the earth, there are roots very deep inside. It's the same thing. Whatever there is above, there is underneath as well.
that
So,
is that is so great, because if you actually think about it, that we don't know enough about the usefulness of water. We don't know it's a baby. We don't know that we're in charge of
mhm.
bringing that water up and
So we
allowing.
have to find a way to introduce that and to utilize it and to educate the babies and to bring up, I think.
Yes, yes, we do. We do. And so that's the next phase. And it says on the Bible, I don't know what it says in other aspects of spirituality, but I have known, I went to India and Nepal to study alchemy, because of the reasonings, that I was asked to go there for reasons that the Dalai Lama said we could that mercury would be a neurological medicine in the future.
Mm.
I I couldn't understand that, so I just went there, took every little penny I had and go there and to talk to these people. And they said, well, all you do is for 7 years, you put it in the ground, just a small amount of it, and you'll be able to turn it into a medicine that's a
Wow.
neurological medicine. That in this world is not possible. And so even still now, I still struggle with that, because Clear Lake has the highest level of mercury.
Mercury.
And,
Mm.
and the mercury, they used it in the wrong way. They had the
Right.
wrong hint, which was to get the gold. That's how, that's what the real cash cow
That's
was built on.
greed. People, humanity's greed is really destructing everything, or it's the greed, it's ego. So we have to release everything, all the negative egos and greed.
Exactly.
Then have the pure heart to be in service of nature, of others, all living beings.
And I think that that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to have the right intent instead of the wrong in the greed that we talk about.
Hmm.
We we cannot be greedy and
Yeah.
actually allow, and that's why Mercury's so destructive.
Hmm.
We never thought of that. And so the more we studied this, the more we saw the reasoning for it.
Everything has good side and evil side and positive, beautiful side. Within us too. I have evil Michiko and beautiful, positive Michiko, good Michiko as well within me, myself. And if I try to utilize this evil side, I can be an evil person. But if I try to be focusing on the positive, beautiful side of Michiko, then I can be the beautiful Michiko. It's a choice. And
Yeah.
I think people for everything like mercury also and water can be very it's a living entity and
Thing
with
is,
consciousness it can be very helpful for us. We have to have all the beings are born in water and water can be very helpful. Water is healing us. Water is helping our lives. But when we become too greedy, too negative, or taking advantage of the water, or taking it for granted, it can get sometimes upset, mad. It can be giving punishment. And in that case, you see that with that tsunami, you can see how powerful it can be. The fire as well. Fire can warm us up, can warm the water that we can bathe, that we can wash our hands, a shower. When it's cold outside, we can warm ourselves with fire. But at the same time, fire can be harmful, burn all the mountains and houses and even people too. So it has both sides, right? Everything has positive and negative.
yeah,
It's a balance.
I truly believe that now that we've learned what we have from the Los Alamos studies, who basically built the bomb, and you're here in this area, you're very similar to that.
Mhm,
The 38th parallel, which shows really geologically, the importance of this division,
mhm,
between two opposing forces.
mhm,
And really, we know that we call it the Mason-Dixon line or something like that, but really it's this 38th parallel. It goes right through Japan and then Korea, and it becomes famous about these two opposing forces.
mhm, mhm,
Really, what we're learning more about it is that these two opposing forces have a lot to do with ourselves and who we are and how we can overcome
mhm.
all all the terror that's terrorized us for all those years. And
Right.
so I thought that's impossible for me to find a reason from people that have built a bomb. But
Mhm,
in order to find out that, I know it's hard to explain this, but in order to find out, how we could get this information out was to follow this line of volcanoes that move from south to north along the
wow.
river.
Interesting.
So I explain that in the book, and I explain the importance of this whole area and why we can actually make peace in the world.
Wow.
And so
So
important.
yeah, it's about time to wrap it up. So I would like everyone to see your book once again and learn
Yeah,
how we can make the whole world, how it started, how the Ring of Fire started, and where we are and what we can do. And the most important thing is love, right? That we
yeah,
are.
yeah. This just came out a month ago, a month and a half or something
People
like.
can buy on Amazon.
You can buy it on Amazon and it's $20 if, I'm not looking for money. I'm looking for getting this information out. And this
Exactly.
will allow us to donate to Clearwater
Hmm.
Vision.
Right.
And basically what we need is more of the research that we're doing now.
Hmm.
We've already done most research anyway, but to find water and allow it to come, up off the ground to neutralize
Hmm.
the the toxins that we are existing with that are hurting our children and every next generations and so on is the most important thing. Mental illness is so rampant right now, and
Yeah.
we have to understand that we're part of a family,
Hmm.
and the family structure is who we are.
We are all one family. So
And money, what is money? We transfer it into gold or something. That's not money. It comes from water itself.
something that I want to say is humans are the only ones who uses money. No other beings.
Hmm.
They don't exchange anything with money. They don't buy anything with money. So they're in harmony with nature. That's what nature is. And I really think that if money did not exist, if money did not exist, then no one would be having probably the mental disease.
Yes.
No, the family will not corrupt, but they will be living in harmony with all other people, helping each other, loving each other. And because of money, that because we have to be able to live, continue to pay off all the debts or loans and everything, and to educate our children and all that. Um, People struggle in their lives,
Yes.
and that's the um main what do you call the problem that we have. So in the future, I think it'll change. The
Yeah.
value of money will change.
Yeah. You know what? It's so obvious right now, that, we pollute water. You
Yeah,
know, we we create a business to pollute water and then we
yeah.
think that that's the
You
okay
just
to
stop
do
it.
that. It's not going to work.
No, 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 it's not going to work. When the water is polluted, there's no microbes being able to stay alive. If there's no microbes, the, no other animals can stay alive either, or trees and plants. That
Yeah.
means
Well,
how
that's it.
can,
It's
yeah, how can people live, right?
Well, I've always brought this, I'm not a very good Christian, because I'm more of a Hindu, it doesn't really matter, but the aspect of this is like um there's a part in the Bible that I just carry with me all the time. And it goes like, you know, um all of creation is yearning for the redemption of man, all
Mm.
of the creation. And it doesn't leave out, anything or anybody, all of creation, even the poisons we hang around with.
Hmm.
So they're all there, all yearning for us to make that change. And
Right.
mankind is the only one that can do that. And the only way we can do this is bring bring the two worlds together.
Well, I think my internet is not really stable. Anyway, Ross, I think it's about time, and I will thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for being here today with me, and I look forward to seeing you on Zoom with other friends of ours, beautiful
I,
friends of ours
I
again.
love it, because we're a team.
Yeah,
We've always been a team. It doesn't matter whether we're on the other side of the ocean or not.
right,
It's in fact now is the most powerful time we can have to make
right.
changes in the world, and
And
I'm
without
very
all the
thankful
friends
for
who
what
are,
Emoto did.
thank you.
Pretty
And with
amazing.
all the friends who are watching this interview today, um, we are all one family and we're creating a beautiful, powerful world. So thank you so much, Ross. I think the
That's
internet is really
what technology is doing to us, huh? Are
right, right. Okay, so wonderful evening
you
and thank you
there?
so much again. See you soon. Okay, Ross? So that was Russell Anderson.
You're all right. I hear you now. Do you hear me?
I,
Okay,
I
we're
can hear
signing.
you. Hold on. It was disconnected. So I had to, I hope it recorded. If not, we'll have to do it again.
Oh,
Okay?
that'd be even more fun, right? All
Yeah.
right. Love you.
Okay.
See you soon. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Thank you again, but I'll let you know. Bye bye. Thank you.
I'm leaving.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you.
Leaving me.